Hello everyone, we are live for LSB Film Productions for Thetford Council Watch meeting. We are all here and we are ready to go, including Zach. So let's all have a round of applause for Zach.
Yeah, good evening ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the July Thetford Council Watch meeting. Get the usual things over with. If you all have a quick look at the agenda, and there should be nothing of any pecuniary interest on there, maybe only Zach, but we'll go into that later, but nothing of any money interest. Apologies for my absence. I've had one from Dennis Crawford, he can't make it. He's been up there to see him. And if anybody wants to catch up with what we've done in the past, we've got the videos at LSB Film Production agendas if anybody needs them. So we'll just move on to our first. The acoustics and audio levels at the town council meetings. And I've got down the councillors do not use their mics correctly or have the volume set at the correct level. We cannot understand the new mayor, and as I said on the evening, she's better off without the mic. And would the councillors be better standing up and directing points to the audience? Because I know on LSB there's a lot of people at the minute saying that they can't hear, especially.
Everyone I've spoken to, that's the first thing I say about the town hall meetings. You can't hear anything.
You can't even hear you speaking.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, we could do something about it ourselves. We could carry our own mic, but I don't think the councillors have got the will to do anything.
All they need to do, and we've said this countless times, is bring the speakers forward. So the speakers are right where the audience are, so it hasn't got all that hall to bounce and echo from.
It's a deliberate act, really, isn't it?
Of course it is.
They know how to do it. You said
Ron Wood
Ron, there you go.
knows how to do it. Come on, Ron, sort yourself out. You know how to do PA stuff, and you know that that's incorrect, because that's, yeah, it has to be deliberate. It's so bad.
I mean, they were using the Carnegie at one time, weren't they? But now it's all Guildhall. Because obviously no one can hear anything, you know what I mean? So,
I mean, it was bad enough in the Carnegie, but the Guildhall is just out of this.
Yeah.
I mean, I get the impression they don't really want public, which we'll go into in a minute in detail. They don't want public participation, so why would they listen to us? And
Well, yeah, they want public participation because every time we ask them a question, they dig themselves into a deeper hole.
Well, that actually takes you on to the next agenda item, questions from the public to the councillors. I've got down, we cannot attend the meetings again at the district or the county levels. We can only turn up at Thetford Town, and we should be able to question the district and the county representatives who attend the town council meeting. Thetford want the questions that we ask to be directed at the town level only. And I've brought their agenda item in here, and as it's got down, I don't know if you've seen this, it says, please note, this is the Thetford Council, questions should be directed to councillors in their role as town council. Matters relating to Breckland District Council or Norfolk County Council should be raised through the representative council process and not at the town council meeting. But as I said, the problem is we're not allowed to go to those two levels.
So straight away, by putting that in their agenda, putting an announcement in, they're saying don't speak to us.
That's it, what they're saying.
Okay.
You know, and as a member of the public, if you've got a problem and you do a bit of research on the computer and find out it's a Breckland district problem, and then you can't get through on the phone, which is a nightmare, you turn up at your council meeting and you ask one of the Breckland councillors what they think. Now, I know when I was in at the council, I don't know what it was like when you first went in yourself, Chris. I'm trying to remember when it changed.
Nobody would talk to me.
Thomas Paine Independence.
Well, somebody,
I was literally Thomas Paine independent because I was on my own.
That's it, yeah, of course.
somebody could get up from the council when I was a councillor and ask a question at the Breckland or the county level. And the Breckland councillors would say what they thought, or say, we'll find out for you.
But then saying that statement there is directed at us.
Yes.
Isn't it? If anyone else came in off the street and said, oh, can you tell me about X, Y, Z going on outside the town, they'd answer it. Yeah. That's directed at us.
Yeah, but the problem is the whole of the public suffer, don't they, because of it. got questions asked at the town level are still continually interrupted, cut off or not answered. And it was quite apparent because we had one member of the public at the end who got up and got quite angry. I think it was Martin, wasn't it? He wanted to know why they were interrupting, why they wouldn't let us speak. So you have got members of the council actually upsetting the rest of the public, which I think is out of order. And again, I've got down in general, again, the public are being denied answers to questions at every level of the council. So I don't know if you're aware of that, Mike, as the district representative, we can't go to a district council meeting. And at the minute, we cannot ask the questions of a district councillor at the town level. So it just seems apparent that nobody wants to be held accountable for anything at any level. Okay. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Jenny Hollis put, why have they changed that? It's always been that the Breckland District Council and county councillors are supposed to give a report.
Yes, and the public could then question those reports when they got up. So that was your chancellor, or the other councillors could, sorry, the public couldn't. But if a member of the public asked a question and you knew it at the district level and you were sitting at the table, you could get up and answer that question.
Yeah.
Where what's happening at the minute, it looks like they're being coached not to take a question, even if they know the answer.
For fear of incrimination.
The dirty, slimy.
Is there any points from the public?
Well, if we ask it at like town level, well, you know yourself, you could ask a question in my view, you'll get no response whatsoever. So that's definitely you're not going to take that to Breckland or Norfolk, are they?
No, well, no.
And not waste of time.
Well, even if a Breckland councillor got up and said, I've heard your point,
Yeah.
not quite sure of the answer, but I will find out at the next Breckland meeting and come back and let you know. But again, we've got a two-way dialogue going on, haven't we? We're communicating, which is what's not happening at the minute.
And you would think they would bat it onto Breckland or the Norfolk County Council, because I mean, at the end of the day, they'll probably come back and stick by the same sort of answer that town council would. But at least it's over
It's
their
off their
hands.
best. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like any communication you have with any council. I mean, on a personal level, I've had 24 notices, which are legal documents. As far as I'm working out now, they've been placed in a bin at West Suffolk Council. After putting a subject access request in, they've been 24 documents. And but funny enough, I was talking to one of my customers today, and they were asking about people who who takes authority for their decisions. And it's quite funny actually. One of them said, "Do they ever sign anything?" And said, "No. None of these corporations sign anything." And that goes right down to town level. They will not put their name to anything. And so it's not just town level.
Mind when you look at the bills and all that, the council tax, the electric, all that, nothing's signed anyway, is it? So there's no,
There's no accountability.
That slightly takes us on to the next one, the town council follow-up to our public questions. I've got down, we're going into the climate bit in a minute. The council informed us that they took advice from a council climate scientist prior to the declaration of the climate crisis. When we asked, they would not give us the name of this council scientist's name, and they will not give us any further details about the climate decision still. But they did back their decision up by saying that they were advised by the climate scientist. Now that was your question. What did you get from it?
Well, yeah, just a little backstory on it. I was sent emails by who's Jeremy's boyfriend?
Matt Stewart.
Matt Stewart. I was sent a great email by him. I agreed with everything that he put in there about what they've done for the town. They've got this obsession with water butts. It seems like all their money's been spent on water butts on public buildings. But that's all great. But they still didn't answer my question about evidence of a climate emergency.
Yeah.
Right? But then the second email, which was from Dave's mum,
Mrs.
Blackbourne, yeah, Dave Blackbourne's mum. She wrote an email to me stating that they had in fact listened to a very eloquent speech by one of the councillors that's also a scientist, and that is how they reached their decision to declare a climate emergency in the town, which led to my question: can I have the name of this scientist? Because I'm obviously speaking to the wrong people. And that's when they refused to give it. They won't give you the name of this scientist. I was also put in my place that this scientist is a lot more qualified to discuss this matter than you are. So, so after a little bit of toing and froing, that's the other thing. They don't understand basic information. The last time I addressed the council, I put it into terms that a child would understand.
Yes.
Listing out certain points where taxation was increased, but the fear thing never happened. Like, we're going to run out of oil and stuff like that. And so they can't comprehend just a basic information giving exercise. But anyway, back to the I'm rambling. Back to the fact that they won't give the name of the scientist. I then had to approach the mayor and say, right, well, if these people aren't going to give it, you're the mayor now.
Yeah.
Can you give me the name? And she wouldn't give it either. But after a bit of toing and froing, what they did finally agree is that it was recorded, and I'll just have to look back through all of the last meetings to get that speech. Now, how many meetings have we attended? And so anyway, we came to the agreement that Sonia is going to find me the excerpt, or at least a link to the council meeting, and then we can all listen to this eloquent speech.
But they still didn't say. Did they say it was one of the councillors?
That's the impression I got. Now I think I know who it is, because there was a little old lady sat next to me, and she went, "That's him." And she said, "He's ever so clever, you know. He works for the BTO, which is birds, not CO2.
So do we need to put him on a notice personally?
Well, yeah. Well, what I'm
giving guidance to the council.
Yeah, but what I'm doing is holding fire. I want the first thing addressed. Give me the name.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. Sometimes you've got to travel 10 miles that way.
Yeah.
To come back to the starting point.
Yeah, but I don't think we should let it go, even though sometimes we feel just keep
No,
it. Just
I mean, now we've got an
keep it
expert in our midst.
Yeah.
We need to have a discussion.
Yeah. So we could frame the questions to the expert
Yeah.
who's hiding amongst you.
They'll all ask the questions.
You have a question, Mark?
Well, sorry, Michael. Yeah.
Thanks, Chairman. Is this of any interest, perhaps? It caught my eye this afternoon because there's a full Brecon Council meeting on Thursday, and in the agenda, it's just been published, it's up, anyone can see it, it's open to the public, and it's a question from the Reform Brecon Council leader, Robin Hunter-Clark, to the Executive Member for Waste, Environmental Health, Licensing and Sustainability. And it goes as follows. Brecon District Council declared a climate emergency on the 19th of September 2019. Well, it was news to me, but probably you all know this. So stop me if I'm on familiar.
That's good.
Could the executive member please confirm whether she and the current cabinet still officially support this declaration? In addition, could she provide, number one, a detailed breakdown of the total cost to taxpayers of implementing policies related to the climate emergency, in single quotes, since the declaration was made, including any ongoing financial commitments. Number two, a commitment to bring this matter back for debate, to allow all members of this council the opportunity to consider and vote on. Number 3, a list of all staff roles employed directly or contracted whose responsibilities are wholly or partly dedicated to climate change and the net zero agenda, including costings. Response from Councillor Helen Crane, Executive Member for Waste, Environmental Health, Licensing and Sustainability. I and we do still support our vision for sustainability. The Council's corporate plan is clear that one of the ways we need to work smarter is by being more sustainable to enable us to continually improve the delivery of our services for our residents, businesses and communities. The Breckland 2035 strategy is about reducing our own impact and embed this in all that we do, using our regulatory powers to influence behaviour change through planning. Bear with me, there's a bit more to go. Planning, waste and recycling, etc. And also enabling residents and businesses to take their own action. We believe that everyone has the right to a safe and warm home, that our residents want and deserve a nature-rich place to work, learn, live and play, with clean air and water, which of course supports physical and mental well-being, and cheaper fuel bills, all of which are inextricably linked. Number 1, the council allocated £525,000, what's that, just over £500,000, in February 2021 for its sustainability strategy 2021 to 2035 work programme, and of course the council continued to vote annually on its budget and will continue to do this. Number 2, to date, the council has spent £218,000 while levering in an additional £699,000 of external funding. A. The £218,000 spent to date includes over £100,000 worth of community grants distributed and £25,000 to plant and protect over 2,400 trees at Oxborough Hall in partnership with the National Trust. Point B. The leveraged in funds include 2 separate successful submissions to Sport England. Firstly, for solar panels at Dereham Leisure Centre, and secondly for solar panels and battery storage at Breckland Leisure Centre in Thetford. These will not only make a significant operational run cost saving, brackets cost avoidance, which will positively impact the outcome of our PFI arrangement at the next benchmarking, close brackets. It will increase the asset value and of course creates a significant carbon saving. We're almost there, folks. Point C, the rolling Breckland 2035 work plan is continually under review, but at present there is no committed spend / ongoing financial commitments. Number 3, we are always willing to have a debate on this topic. And finally, number 4, sustainability is embedded across the council and therefore the responsibility is shared and picked up by multiple teams across the council. However, an executive director does take a strategic lead with support from a corporate policy graduate. Open brackets, note, we do not disaggregate resource spend across work activities. Close brackets, end. So, there you have it.
So what I'm picking out there is...
Can you just repeat that?
Certainly.
I'm picking out astronomical amounts of money
They're pretty tasty.
being spent on something that's not being proved. And the taxpayers are having to pay more and more council tax. And, you know, and what is the council tax going on? Which one was it?
And what was it, 699,000 has come from outside sources?
Yeah, I think that was the figure, yeah.
Yeah.
Would you be able, I mean, would you be able to introduce a question and find out where that money comes from, the outside sources?
I can certainly put it through.
Because then that would give a, I mean, you know, we all know that the corporations are part of the councils around by a league.
Yeah, they're all feathering each other's nests, aren't they? In one way or another. They only got to look at what happened in Proctor. Who's running his own private business.
At the end of the day, all these solar panels, not just in the leisure centres, they're in Tesco's, they've got them, other supermarkets, they're everywhere.
They can't be recycled. They're dim in the sun. So what effect are they going to have anyway?
And Germany have just introduced a sun tax
Yes,
for people with solar panels.
yeah.
Daylight robbery again.
Would we be able to get a copy of that?
Yeah, sure.
That letter.
Did you get my
All that again.
WhatsApp text? 'Cause
Hang on,
obviously- Sorry.
Yeah. Go on, Mikey.
Did you get my WhatsApp text, Chairman, yesterday? Because I got the number off.
No, I never got.
Oh, okay. I'll need to check it, but that would
Yeah.
be the easiest. But yeah, sure.
But I just think if we can get a copy of that and get it into some sort of information leaflet for the public.
Yeah.
I mean,
But as I say, it should be available on the agenda, part of the agenda for Thursday's full council.
Well,
which
sure,
is
we'll
already
get a
online.
copy of that and get it
But
off,
yeah, so
What was the reason for your? Who was it who asked the question?
Robin is the reform leader.
Of the group at Deerham.
What was his reason for putting that question?
No, he's the leader of the group within Brecon Council.
He's the leader of the Reform UK. There's 4 of us out of 59.
Right, and he's like, yeah,
He's the leader of us 4.
yeah, he's like Dennis Foss to us. But I take it your party policies will be going against a lot of what they're saying.
Well, it's no secret. Reform is absolutely staunchly against net zero. It's ruinously expensive, you don't need me to tell you. Well, it's our party policy, absolutely. And all this stuff about solar farms is scary. So yeah, had there been elections, full elections on the 1st of May, you know, things might be different, but of course a lot of it could be overridden by central government.
Which is not very good, is it? Has anybody got any more questions on the carbon lunacy?
Yeah, I think it'd be worth dropping in how many of them actually know about Agenda 2030, about the final goal, and the UK fires document, which will restrict travel, flights, food, you name it.
Everything, isn't it?
Yeah, the UK fires document.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is where your 20-minute neighbourhoods, your 15-minute cities are all overlapping on all this. I mean, we've been studying this stuff for years, mate. You know, it's frightening the more you look at it. Interestingly, he said that they've got a plan up till year 35.
Yeah.
Instead of, Agenda 30, it's supposed to be done by 30.
25.
So are they saying
They
now?
moved to 30.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, there's also Agenda 50, isn't there? 2050.
There is 50 is their absolute final. That's it. Everything's in place, and we're all digitally enslaved,
which is what,
and it's like being in an episode of the Hunger Games.
Have they got a data gathering point in the town yet? That'd be interesting. That's 2 Aprils ago now. It's over 2 years ago. They couldn't provide a data gathering point, and it was promised a phone call back from someone, and they blanked me. So,
well, just down at Ireland, we've just got it. I mean, at the minute, what can we do? We can just keep banging away and showing dissent at the town.
exactly.
We've got reform at the higher level, we're obviously starting to kick the door in. And I would say, looking at the polls, that's only going to, I'm still trying to figure out how reform would fit in with this new method of government they're going to go to. Because I take it you would sweep the board anyway, but they would then hand you that new method of government, wouldn't they? It would be interesting to see what the party would then do with that.
Yeah, I mean, this is a personal view on it, but I mean, if you look, and we can all see what's happening in Kent, where Reform have got pretty much complete control. You can only, as I was saying a minute ago, you can only go so far before you get Big Brother from Westminster, you know, countermanding what you're doing. So you can use a lot of common sense. You can look at the debt level, and if you perhaps permit me, I've got some stuff that I pulled off the internet today, relevant to this county. But you know, if you know that until the end of this Parliament, or perhaps if the current government falls between now and the next 4 years, then you know, you've always got the possibility that whatever you do locally can get gazumped from higher up. But yeah, I found this fascinating. I mean, again, this is just AI and Google searches, but I typed in this morning, how much debt does Norfolk County Council have? And back came the answer. Norfolk County Council debt currently stands at £828.7 million. This borrowing is primarily for capital projects like schools, roads, bridges, libraries and museums. The council also pays £28.5 million annually in interest on its current borrowing. So I got my calculator out and divided that by 365, and it's a staggering £78,082 per day. So it goes on. In addition to Norfolk County Council's debt, other Norfolk councils also have debt. Norwich City Council has borrowed £207.1 million. Great Yarmouth has around £81.3 million. South Norfolk has borrowed £20 million, and West Norfolk has borrowed £10 million. However, I found this fascinating, 3 councils, brackets, Breckland, North Norfolk and Broadland, have no debt. None at all. The total debt for all of Norfolk Council combined is almost £1.5 billion. This equates to roughly £902 per person in Norfolk. The council's borrowing is used to fund major projects, it's said above, and infrastructure improvements. However, the council also faces challenges in managing its finances, including a growing shortfall in its budget, particularly for supporting children with special educational needs and disabilities, brackets SEND. This has led to concerns about the council's financial sustainability and the need for potential service reductions. So that was just one Google. Then again, may I go on? Just take a minute or two. I typed in to get more specific to Breckland. What was Breckland Council's turnover last year? Because I know it's often likened to a business, which is, I guess, exactly what it is, because it's an organisation offering services, isn't it? Breckland Council's turnover for the year 23-24, as detailed in their statement of accounts, was £98.567 thousand. So that's 98, almost £100 million turnover. For council tax and £35.46 million for business rates. These figures represent the total revenue collected by the council from these sources. Council tax, so the above figure, 98.5 million, was collected from 62,183 homes with a collection rate of 97.2%. How much surplus did Breckland Council make last year? Breckland Council generated a surplus of £2.4 million in 2023-24, with Breckland's share being 966,000. Didn't quite understand that. This surplus will be included in the 2025-26 budgets. Overall surplus, those figures above.
How much are they not borrowing anything, mate?
I think not. I think you've got 3 councils that are debt-free.
But what's happening is our council tax is keeping them going. It's just that they're not bulging it up really.
Yes, but I think the picture's a bit more complicated because I think that the council has made investments that
Yes,
are
they
doing
have,
quite
yeah,
well.
yeah.
The detail of which I'm not sure about.
But what we're saying there though is that people who've been down and out who are paying money they can't afford, Breckland have been investing it and doing well off of it, and I would say if you're on the cabinet or you're in powerful positions, you're getting the benefit of that. So
Yeah.
it's been some wise and shrewd investments, but they're still taking the money off the people and they're not ploughing it back.
Yeah, the salaries you can also Google. Have you
Yeah.
done that? You've had a look.
the
And you can
pensions
see
fund,
all the names.
I've seen that.
So they're open for public.
Yeah, Dave gave us an overview on it before he went away.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, again, if you'll permit me, a couple of minutes just to finish. You asked a couple of meetings back, I couldn't make the last meeting, but about debt collection. So I've had some exchanges of email with the senior financial officer at Breckland Council, and I wrote...
Dave, can I just... We're just about to speak about that. Yeah, so... No, go on, you say your bit. Yeah, go on, Dave, you say your bit.
So I made some notes, sort of summarised, so let's hope I get them in the right order. So, who exactly does the council employ to collect its debts? And the answer came back. Breckland Council is part of a partnership of 5 local authorities which have formed a partnership called Anglia Revenue Partnership, ARP, and I've heard that before here, which provides revenues and benefits services. ARP is responsible for the billing and collection of council tax and business rates. NNDR, which I'm given to understand, for national non-domestic business rates, in line with the appropriate regulations and legislations. So I asked, well, who are these people? Who are the other authorities? And the reply was, aside from Breckland Council, you've got East Cambridgeshire District Council, East Suffolk Council, Fenland District Council, West Suffolk Council. ARP also has its own in-house enforcement agency, ARPE, which collects council tax and business rate debts that have not been able to be collected by ARP. I wrote again, if debts occur that require a visit outside, oh no, sorry, this is still the reply, I've just got it in bold. If debts occur that require a visit outside of the ARP area, they can be passed to an external enforcement agency for collection. Currently, this would be Bristow and Suter.
Just go, Mike, sorry, just go back a couple of sentences so I can get that. Just, so, you said that they've got their own in-house. So ARP are just there to collect the money, then if you don't pay the money, the ARP enforces, is that what you're saying?
That's my understanding. Yeah,
And then, and what happened after that? Just go through
so out of area, and you see, I'm not quite sure what that means, whether it means geographic area, but this is the reply I got.
Yeah.
So I'll read that sentence again. If debts occur that require a visit outside of the ARP area, they can be passed to an external enforcement agency for collection. Currently, this would be Bristow and Suter. In addition,
but what they've not said there is,
Straight onto GDPR.
yeah. So, but what they've not said there is, well, I just want us all to think about this. What they're saying there is 1, 2 or 3 levels of enforcement. I've took it, there's 2 levels there. There's the ARPE. Now, what we're trying to figure out at the minute is that the council money, or if the council allowed that money to go to the ARPE? I still think that's council money.
Yeah, basically the way I view it is you've got 5 councils that have set up this one
Yeah.
thing that just said, right, you do it.
Now, here's the thing, this is the crux point, Mike. When they hand it over to Bristol and Shooter,
Yeah.
this is the... Where is the debt? Who holds the debt? What is the debt?
Okay.
Again, being an ex-Brecon councillor, we wrote unpaid debt off. As I said today, so when that unpaid debt has been written off the council books,
Yeah.
is that now transferred to Bristol and Shooter?
I'm not sure.
That would be
Your question is
Yeah.
who owns the debt?
Yeah,
Yes.
that would be a
Who
good.
owns
That would
the
be a
debt?
good question to go back to them with.
Yeah.
Is do Bristow and Suter buy bulk data from ARP? Because if that's the case, then that means ARP no longer have an interest in that debt, and then you're into the realms of them selling your data, which is a breach of GDPR regulation.
Okay.
Can you see?
I'm with you, yeah.
So what I'm saying is, you know, if the council's got the debt and basically ARP, I can't go in with a check and all that, so ARP comes round the house and gets it, and then I can't pay it, the ARPE now starts to try and get this money on behalf of the ARP and the council, but so they've still got hold of the debt and there's a connection with the council, but once it goes over to Bristol and Shooter, which is an independent corporation,
They should have washed their hands of
what
it.
is the link to the debt?
Yeah. Okay. There's a little bit. I mean, it's kind of iron fist in velvet glove.
Yeah.
A certain amount, because this paragraph is talking a little bit softer. In addition, at ARP brackets and in line with Breckland's priorities, there is a keen focus on supporting the most vulnerable customers. ARP have an ongoing initiative with our communities team where customers identified as vulnerable by the enforcement agents can be referred for holistic support, which can include debt, welfare or housing advice. Having an in-house enforcement agency allows us to provide this extra support to vulnerable customers, which is not available through external agencies. So again, still some question marks floating around about in-house and out-of-house and who owns the debt.
That sounds like if you can't cut it, if the ARPE can't cut a debt, can't cut a deal with the vulnerable, they'll still hand it over.
Maybe that's what happens. How do these agencies work and how are they regulated? I wrote, further information, this is a reply, can be found here on the ARP website, and there's a link to it, enforcement stages and costs explained, which details the relevant legislation and current fees charged. ARPE is accredited by the Enforcement Conduct Board. Who are we? Who are Enforcement Conduct Board? That's underlined, so there's a link to that. Who are an independent body set up to make sure the enforcement agencies act correctly and fairly. And then final chunk. How much does debt collection cost Breckland Council? Reply. We don't hold a budget, I think you know, specifically for the debt collection element of council tax. However, the entire council tax service, which includes all of the billing, house moves, CT support, council tax support, software, etc., for the circa 66,000 properties for the council is just over £1.1 million. £1,115,727 for the 25-26 year, and I worked that out to £16.90 per property. And then finally, I think it's finally, this is me writing, given that you don't hold a specific budget for the debt collection element of council tax, I would ask you to say how much was spent in the last financial year by Breckland Council for this purpose. Back came the reply, unfortunately we do not break down the council tax budget into the different areas, so we are unable to provide a figure for the cost of purely debt collection.
And what does that tell you? Does that say because they're not spending any money on it? To me, that's screaming of, we're not spending any money on it because we actually sell that to somebody.
Yeah, the way, because what I'm looking at as well is they're saying that they don't know how much it costs to collect a debt, yet they add fees that the enforcement guy adds fees to your debt, or your alleged debt. So how is the ARP guy, an enforcement guy, on a self-employed basis, or is he employed by the 5 councils?
Right, this is what I'm, does ARPE add money on, or do they still stay with the normal debt from the council?
Yeah, or perhaps building on that question, how does the ARP agent earn his or her money? Are they employed?
Are they employed? Self-employed?
What's their employment status?
On commission?
Yeah.
Now, what we do know is we do know that they are a separate corporation, and members of the cabinet of Breckland have actually been on their board of directors, Mike.
Sorry, could you say that again?
We know that the ARP are a private corporation.
Right.
So even though they've been set up by the 5 councils, so potentially the 5 people at the 5 councils have actually got a hand into the till. But if they're private, they're only there to make money, aren't they? So they must be putting, this is where we need to see something like Barry Foster. Did they put money on at the ARP level? Because that then is
Check my
what,
paperwork.
yeah. Or have the council again handed over, and it's not now in their hands, it's in the ARPE as a private company, and if the ARP get it back at their level, they can then siphon some of that money back into the Breckland. Can you see, this is, it's opening up more questions than answers there.
The other thing that I think about as well is that if Anglia Revenue's partnership have trouble collecting their debt, and then the enforcement guy has trouble collecting the debt, is it then, do Anglia Revenue's partnership and the council then go for the courts and the possible bankruptcies and stuff like that, or is it once it's passed across to Bristow and Souter, is it Bristow and Souter that then go for the bankruptcies? And
right, this is, I know this is quite probably a little bit trying to get it in your head, Mike. Having been there where they voted to get rid of the debt, if you voted to get rid of the debt off your books at the council, how can you then carry on with litigation, whether it's right or wrong, through the courts?
yeah, once the debt's
You've
been
got
passed
rid of that
across,
debt.
you've washed your hands of it.
So what we're trying to get all is clear clinical points, you know, within the system.
The cut-off points
The
between
cut-offs
each
for everything.
corporation.
But it sounds like they don't want to tell you, because if we find out, they'll know that we'll exploit this. But it's one big, massive scam. No, I mean, do you know the fact that they're borrowing 800, did you say 800 million?
828 million is the debt figure for the whole of the Norfolk County Council.
But that's how society's set up, isn't it? It's a debt-based system. and that's how it's set up, so that we're constantly paying interest to the bankers. That's how the system is set up.
See, what we're trying to say is that this horrible system we're in, the people who are running all these councils, standing on us, standing on the working people, and they've got their snouts in the trough at the same time with this evil way. The problem is we're starting to try and expose it. It's not that nobody doesn't want to pay anything, but basically we're paying a lot of money for people who are £828 million in debt.
How are you going to expose it?
Well, the good thing is Reform are starting to expose things.
Yeah.
Has anybody more? Is that you?
Yeah, I'm out of ammo now.
Yeah, but it'd be really good to know the cut-off points
Between corporations.
and the, you know, where they would lose interest, not interest as in ka-ching,
Exactly, yeah.
where they would lose an interest in the alleged debt.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it from a business point of view, just at Brecon Council, they're doing all right. There's no debt. I mean, look at the other levels of debt at other places around the county, sky high. So the books are balanced. There's 97.2% collection rate. So it's it looks like a kind of paragon of virtue almost, you know, in terms of the business model, alongside the other two district councils in the county. So they, being the senior manager there, may say, well, you know, problem, what problem? Where, I mean, looking at the crystal ball stuff, but only a year, 2 years, 3 years down the line, when this unitary authority comes in, you know, what's going to happen to all of that debt? And it is highly likely, to make that a rhetorical question, that the three councils that are doing all right at the moment, we're going to end up paying higher taxes, council taxes, to, you know, assuage the debt levels. So it will come, the chickens will come home to roost, I suspect.
That's how they make their money throughout the world, isn't it? On the debt based, you know what I mean?
It is.
Because the gold account I say, they produce all the information and that, and last year the world debt was over 314 trillion, so, you know.
Who owns it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's,
But you've only got to
why
type in
when
the debt.
And when the collapse comes, when the current fiat currency finally collapses, the reason they want us to go onto a new digital system is because they want to transfer that debt to keep us enslaved.
See, what we know is, Mike, you know, just to get it on our side, they've printed that much money, the money is worthless. Nick, would you agree with that?
I think if you get, well, hopefully it will not come to that stage of hyperinflation, Weimar Republic style, but you know, what's the inflation level now? I mean, it's pretty modest because our economy is so sluggish, isn't it?
Well, they reckon the pound or the dollar is now worth less than 1% of what it was worth when it was set up in 1913.
And the other thing that came up yesterday, of only 1% of the people in the country, from what I've seen, 1% went in to take the money out of the banks. It would start a bank run, that's severe. The whole system would fall.
Yeah, and that's something else I discovered this week as well, is that, is it the FCS? No, FC, yeah, the people that have a bank of money, they say if the banks went down, you would get 85% of your money secured.
Yeah.
Right? They said, don't worry about your money in the bank because we know you'll get 85% of it. It turns out, now I can't remember the exact figures off the top of my head, but it turns out that this body, FCSC, I think, yeah, it's not financial services Conduct or anything like that, but they hold a bank of money to cover this 85% of every person's savings account. so to speak. But when you work out the figures, it turns out that the amount of money they hold compared to the amount of money in people's savings account is actually 0.02%. So one person might get there 85%, but the rest will go under. And with the banks now changing all of their terms and conditions that they can now buy in to your bank account, it means you've got no say whatsoever. They are going into your bank account and clearing it out to keep themselves alive.
September,
Which is what happened in
a couple of years ago.
Cyprus.
Oh, right, yeah.
Bailing, it's called a bailing.
That's it. That was September a couple of years ago, wasn't it? So yeah, 3 years this September.
Yeah.
Has anybody any more questions for Mike and his figures?
Well, I came in late, but I swear I heard you say that there's no breakdown of council tax money.
No, that's
Was that the debt?
No.
For the debt collection agent,
Right,
the
what's
cost
your
of debt
cost of
collection.
money?
Right.
Which is a strange point, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, which makes it look like, well, once we've handed it on, it's got nothing to do with us and we've sold the debt.
Well, if there's no breakdown of the debt, then there isn't a debt, is there? Sure.
Check out Godfrey Bloom on YouTube.
Bloom, as in
Godfrey Bloom, as in European MP, X.
Yeah.
You get a lot of the financial stuff off of there.
Well, just to run off back on the back of it, and we did ask a question, I asked a question about the harassment by debt collectors of the people. We didn't get an answer on that. Or the illegal aiding of these collections by the local police. And yeah,
Which has changed.
They didn't give me an answer, which has changed. They didn't seem interested in that whatsoever. So we're still waiting to find out about these 9 policemen. Don't know if anybody's got a finger on the pulse with that.
No, that's ongoing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that will be very interesting morning. The last debt collectors who turned up and we had some of the rapid response out, there was an alleged assault by a local sergeant policeman, which I think you've been running with that.
That's it. Yeah, the assault. Oh, yeah, it's on me was one of them. Yeah.
But has anybody put a complaint in, an official
No,
complaint?
not the assault. No, he's under verbal notice for the assisting the bailiff, obviously. But that's about it. He hasn't been seen since in Thetford, as far as I'm aware, since. So I don't know whether they're trying to pug him away somewhere. He's usually the smaller woman's sergeant now. So, but interesting. But yeah, no, I'd take that as assault, him pressing his chest into me. But nothing was followed up with that. But what has been followed up is the verbal notice. And they did say to me, if you've got a problem, you can put in a complaint to them. And I said, no, it'll be formally done, not your little shoulder number, mate, actually you. So that's as far as it goes, which will be followed up 100%, because that's 14 years for misusing public office.
Well, this is where the Save the Doctrine group stag, which we were going to go to, and I know a member of the public here has been told different dates. Didn't you go in and see the council? You went into the council, Joe. They give you the wrong dates.
Yeah, for the stag.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to the council last month, asked them for the date of the next general stag meeting when people can go. They gave me today's date.
Yeah.
Apparently, it was in June.
Yeah.
It's nothing, nothing,
So
once a year.
I asked them, I had a big bit of a row at the council yesterday over that. I said, well, why did you give me the wrong information? Did you not want me to go? Did you not want the TCW to go? So I've got information now to get in touch with someone, their email address or whatever. The next meeting is the 23rd of September, the general meeting. They have one every 3 months where people can attend. The other ones, it is a monthly thing, but the others are closed meetings.
Yeah.
So the next one will be on the, hopefully.
If you can follow the up, because I think that'll be the main time where we can
Yeah, exactly.
start trying to educate the police and see what they
Doesn't McDonald have a lot to do with stag?
Yeah, but he's not been to the meetings recently.
Ah, okay.
That was very fortunate for him, wasn't he? You
And I've got it.
a quarterly calendar quarterly to be pushed on to September the 20th or whatever, 23rd.
Again, they don't want to
They're hiding.
And I've got down here, we need to push more volunteers to join the local rapid response, come up with a leaflet or something. I think we need to work on that.
Yeah, get them educated.
Yeah.
Talking about education, that's the other thing that's come out recently, is the, it was Mark Horn's case, I think. He's actually gone into court and it's been accepted by the courts now that a perfected order needs to be signed by a judge for someone to turn up at your door and demand money with manaces. So there was a house repossession, not round here, house repossession recently, a couple of days ago, where 30 police turned up to support the bailiffs, and when the head guy was shown this document that proved a court signature was needed for this bailiff to continue, the copper said, "We're doing this warrant is going ahead, and if you've got a problem with it, put a complaint in afterwards." So now you've got 30 coppers that are assisting bailiffs with false documents.
So we need numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need numbers. Ah, well, let's see where that one goes. Next agenda item I've got is Thetford Town Council's financial management, which fits in with your information here, Mike. Yeah? So the Town Council could soon become insolvent. This is according to an outside external auditor. And I've just pulled out what was in the paper. It says, a Norfolk Council has defended, sorry, that's the wrong one. No, that's it. The recent internal audit found Thetford Town Council, which counts Terry Jeremy, the local Labour MP, among its members, has excessively low balances and urged it to reassess its investments. The council has been under fierce criticism from locals for several months over the handling of its finances after it unanimously voted to declare a climate emergency and committed £30,000 of its funds to combat the issue. The new audit report states balances reported by the council are excessively low and bordering upon insolvency. The council must ensure it maintains adequate capital and has not unduly committed excessive capital into long-term investments. Councils routinely keep some of their funds in long-term investments to generate additional income and provide financial security. However, the auditor advised that no more than 100,000 should be held in stocks and shares. At the time of the review, the council had invested more than £600,000. The auditor said the council was exposed to excessive risk and advised that the long-term investments in held shares be liquidated immediately. So that's what it's all about. So what are they saying there to you there, Mike? They've got too much invested and they may not have enough money for the day-to-day running.
Look, it's raising question marks, and you've got, how long have that group been in control of the council? I know the mayor...
For a year, just over a year.
Just a year?
Yeah.
So was it a different body, it can't have been, that took the decision for the climate emergency?
Well, TJ's always been there.
There's been a change in the way the money's been looked after. So I hear. It was like if you had an allotment department, they looked after their own. If you had one for flower beds, they looked after their own. So each separate committee looked after their own funds.
Overlooked by the financial committee.
Right. And when a certain individual came in, he amalgamated all of those funds into the one pot.
For
and we believe that's when things started to go wrong.
But the way it's structured, tell me if this is correct, it's like a board of directors, so they take the decisions. Is that right?
For their own pot of money. So each
that's what used to happen.
Each committee looked after their own pot of money, and then when
Yeah, you have accountability.
Right, yeah,
Yeah, it's got that.
And then,
let
all
me,
the money was taken out of their hands and put into one central pot.
so what would happen is, you'd have about 6 or 7 different committees, allotments, all the different ones. They were allocated a pot of money at the start of the year on whatever they had left over from the year before. Now, they would manage their budget accordingly, and if they thought there was a problem with it, they would then take it to the finance committee, and that would go to full council. So full council had ultimate control if anything was going ski with the budgets. And if we could see that there was something on, say, the allotment committee, and they were about to go run out of money, the council could very quickly get in there and stop that. And the finance committee had overall control of that as well as another sifting point. But from what I can see, that's all been amalgamated. All the committees now have been in effect grouped together, and the money's been grouped together. So it's easier to control people going wrong with money when it's spread out, because you're going to see it quicker. But what they've done now is they put it into one, maybe 2 places, and it's all the same party. And then all of a sudden we're bit with this. It would have been nice to see Jane. Jane couldn't make it tonight, I forgot to say, apologies. Jane probably would have had a point of view on this, because she was the ex-mayor and she run the finance committee, and there was no problem at all.
Very healthy back then, wasn't it?
So Thetford are in trouble. I'm not going to read it out, but there's been a response from the town council. And when I read it, I would say it's very complicated and gobbledygook. But basically what they're saying is not guilty, not us. And Terry Land's made a statement. And they're saying this is a win-win for, we're happy with what we're doing, this is a win-win for our environment and for our finances.
Yeah, their own personal environment within their own house.
It is quite nice. It's nice to see that at least we've been saying, look, you can't just waste money willy-nilly like this without giving any evidence. And now the auditors have come in and said, you're on shaky ground, so we need to keep an eye on this.
And a big thank you to the bloody press as well.
Yeah.
Because the way they reported it showed us in a very good light for exposing it. So,
has anybody got any questions on that? Sure, anything? Okay, the last one then, the big one, I'm just going to try and...
The one that everyone's been waiting for.
Basically, right, a member of Council Watch who was being told he's barred from the council was again denied entry at the last council meeting, and he made the local papers because he watched the meeting through a window. So just to explain to people, he couldn't get in, he's sitting around the table. So what he decided to do was to climb up and watch the actions from outside. Now when you think about it, it's a public meeting, it's a public building, and he wanted to watch through the window, as long as he's not smashing the window. But the police did turn up and told him that for his own safety he should get down, and he wasn't bothered about his own safety. So that is the limit of the conflict that he had with the police. However, there was another character who I think had had a couple, I'm not sure, but he had a notification with the new mayor's husband and the police over a point. And from what I know, the police tried to chase him to put into handcuffs, and he escaped, and the police lady fell over and he went on his merry way. Now what happened then is, last Sunday at the stand in the park, the police came down and told Zach that he had to come with them because he'd seen the incident and that they wanted a voluntary statement off him. I managed to advise Zach that if he didn't give the voluntary statement, because it's happened to me, they would arrest him there and then and lock him up for a period of time, which would upset his day, and he had stuff to do. So Zach did agree to speak to them at a later date, which was this Sunday. He went up there this Sunday to the police station with members of the stand in the park, told them he wasn't going to volunteer to give a statement, however he was happy to chat with them. And at that point, they said to him, well, if you do just come in and volunteer, you'll only be with us for 20 minutes and we'll have you on your merry way. Zach said, I am not making a voluntary statement, I am willing to chat out here. And the next thing is he was arrested, put in handcuffs, taken down to the Bury Holding Centre, where he was held for 19 hours. Then he was transferred to a cell in Ipswich, where all of a sudden, we'll go into a minute, he was bundled into a dock and a court. Now I'm finding it quite strange that you can go from, we're just going to do a quick 20-minute interview with you and we'll have you on your way, to him then refusing to being locked up for over 19 hours and ending up in court. I just find that quite strange. What the hell is going on there?
Well, I never consented once to accepting this invitation, full stop. So when they've come down to the stand in the park, she said, would you like to come up to the station, whatever. And I paused for a second and I said, no consent to that, because you've volunteered, I haven't done anything wrong. And then obviously then she said, well, if you're done with the restaurant, now then rightly so, you've stepped in. Yeah. Basically said, you know, on our watch, what are you saying is an arranged time at another point. Now when she said, right, you're going to come up next Sunday, I said, I may do if I'm freed up. So not at one point did I consent to, I'm definitely coming up. And obviously if everyone's seen the video, what have you, I've gone up there and I've stayed outside the station because, again, it's on my terms. You want to give me a little invitation, I'll come up to say my piece, basically. And they obviously wasn't happy with this and they took the law into their own hands. Again, clearing it that if this is a criminal, what you're trying to say on the land, there's no victim, where's this victim?
Right, so let's just jump in. It's their procedure which is which we're calling out, because they want you to voluntarily say something.
Exactly.
But they're not saying that there's a charge. You know.
Did you say they want to speak to Zach because he might have seen something?
No, they actually haven't said anything about that. This is us anticipating, based on there was an incident at the town council.
Yeah.
So they then wanted him to voluntarily come in and speak about something that happened there. Whereas basically he said, well, I never seen nothing. The police should not be able to arrest you unless they've got something on you.
Exactly. So they literally coerced me up to the station and tried getting me in. And this is why I said I'm not going to be bullied by them at all. I'll go up as not part of a joint accepting the invitation, but to say my piece. I'm not refusing to do anything.
So that means they can knock on anyone's door and say, we think you saw something, you need to tell us or you're going to be arrested.
Yeah, I suffered that a few years ago when I was quite shocked at So this is what they do. Now, you know, the other thing is he's then taken to Ipswich court.
Ipswich magistrates.
And he's not being charged.
That's a different jurisdiction, isn't it?
But this is what we're trying to figure out what's going on. So sooner or later we're going to have to speak to the police and say, can you explain? So I'm thinking about writing a nice little letter from the Thetford Council Watch and saying, can you explain the procedures you went through with a member of the council? Because
Norfolk and Suffolk don't talk to each other, the police, do they?
Well, this is it. Again, why is Norfolk and why is he going into a Suffolk?
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, there's more questions than answers there. But the other concerning thing was when he was put into Ipswich, when they walked him out of his cell, he was straight into the court and into the dock, yeah?
Yeah, literally. So as you go up to the stairs, there's two doors either side, but you can't see into the rooms. You wouldn't even know there was a room on the room that it is at the other side. And as you go in, it is literally the dock. So there's nowhere to go. So I've literally looked round in amazement. I said, you haven't what's this? Is this the dock?
Right. So basically, what we've got here is we've got him being coerced into two bits of joinder. Yeah. He's straight into the dock, so the dock is the dock. Yeah. And then he's been again, do you understand why you're here today? Which he quite correctly batted it all off and never took any joinder whatsoever.
I've basically said, I'm like I said, I'm not refusing anything. I'm happy to stand in my own sovereign rights on the other side, anywhere in this room where you are. and have my say in my own sovereign capacity in the room elsewhere. I can speak up, down, whatever, but I do not consent to this where I am right now. This is a booby trap. At this point, she was saying, are you Zach Marquez? So I said straight away, you administrated my trust. She repeated it again. I said, are you administrating my trust? So I'm the sole beneficiary to this. And then basically, I've said, no, I do not consent, and I've said, I need to get out of this space. And
So,
go, basically.
so how was it left? How was it left?
Well, basically,
They said the next move is.
They weren't saying anything, basically. I went back down to the cell, basically. Sat there. Obviously, they come down in 10 minutes' time to say to me what's gonna happen next. So if I don't come back up into the dock, then the procedures at that point in the courtroom will go ahead, and I'm declared as absent. And then they said to me, so do you understand this? And I said, I'll be like to...
So let me get this straight.
Go on.
They said that if you didn't agree to go back up into the court,
Exactly.
they would have the hearing without you.
To the trials stage, yeah. So then I've said again, I've really been coerced and all the rest of it, and you know, there's a boot check. I've got no option into this. It all actually spiraled from me having an option
I'm with you.
for an interview.
But just for us, because taking this further,
Yeah.
what evidence have they presented to you that you have done something wrong?
Basically, it was originally in between all of this, not originally, but in between all of this, there was so-called bruises to what they claim to be an officer, which is down as a stranger from what I witnessed, because no identification, and that actually got dropped. So halfway through
But
this,
this is,
not to start
this
off
is
with,
not from you, though.
no, exactly. That's what I'm saying. But not from when they arrested me at Thetford Station. It wasn't known for the assault, the bruises, right? So at this point, no one was none the wiser. Then in there, through the procedures of everything you said, the stages, they basically said the assault charges. At this point, when I'm at Ipswich, they've been dropped, the assault. So it's now down to I'm stopping an arrest happening. So it's all, like I said, I've gained them no jurisdiction the whole time.
So hang on, so they're accusing you now
Yeah.
of being involved in stopping of the arrest of this character.
Exactly. So they've tried putting stuff onto me, and then they've broken it down to this, and this is what they think warrants the right to go ahead with what they're doing to a trial, just on the basis of that one there, that point there.
And you're in a courtroom. You're in the courtroom.
The door was still open, by the way. The door
You're
never
in
shuts.
the,
My foot
you're in the
was
cell.
in that.
You're in the cell in the courtroom,
Yeah.
and they were going to declare you absent from the court.
No, I wasn't in the court actual room.
Yeah, but even though the police took you to the court building,
Exactly.
they were going to declare you absent
Yeah,
from the
because I
court.
was the cell underneath. So there you go. Obviously, at that point there, of course, I said I don't any verbal contract with you, so I don't stand under anything you say.
Isn't that trespassing the case,
Right,
Frank
okay.
said?
Yeah.
Right, so we've got to look.
I
I mean, if you, I mean, if they suspect that he had something to do with the police lady not getting the arrest, he should have been charged straight
They'd have
away
arrested him straight away.
and
Yeah.
taken in, and this is the charge, and then he's got the right to remain silent. And then it's down then to what evidence they've got, whether or not the CPS will take that forward.
Yeah.
You'll probably find that there's nothing, because we know it was a non-incident. They've got nothing, the CPS will laugh it out. So all they're trying to do is to get you to incriminate yourself.
100%. This is what I said I knew the whole time. There was 2 arrest points that could have had me on at the so-called scene, what they've said, and then they come to the stand in the park, which should have been Tuesday. Would it have been that Sunday? So it was either nigh on a week back, and an invitation was put out. So if this criminal activity had happened the second time, no doubt, if they didn't get me from the first scene, according to them, they would have nabbed me the second time. So it was all, the whole thing stunk anyway.
Here we go.
The irony was, when I was talking to the police officer, when I went out there, the initial one, the dead chunky guy,
That's it.
he turned around and said he was called because Zach being up at the window, if he fell, he could have hurt himself and whatever. So, as I pointed out to him at the time, so you're here under health and safety, Right, he's on the floor now, so it's dealt with, he can go. But that didn't happen. And then all of a sudden, all this has appeared.
But we'll follow.
To me, it seems like a witch hunt.
Yeah, we'll follow.
Trying to discredit.
Wonder who's behind the witch hunt.
Yeah.
Well, it's gone through.
I don't know, but I believe he has a garden on a hill.
Yeah.
Is there anybody got any questions or points for Zach? Or? So it's a question of watch this space, and then what are we going to do?
Exactly. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But I still can't get my head around now. It's escalated from you're only going to have 20 minutes in here and we're going to get rid of you, which is on camera, to now spending over 19 hours in a cell on the amount to a cross.
Well, because they would probably say, because that was under the voluntary interview.
You can't
But once he's arrested, then that's...
Yeah, but the dark thing is though, what an option.
Oh yeah, it's
We're giving
ridiculous.
you the option to come in and volunteer to incriminate yourself, or we'll arrest you.
Yeah, that's an option.
That's not a very good. That's not a very good.
It's not an option, is it?
No.
If that was a holiday brochure, you just wouldn't, would you?
Innocent till proven guilty.
We're under European law, aren't we?
Take
You're
the jab or you
guilty
lose
until
the
you
job.
prove
This is
yourself
what
There you go.
essentially exactly the same as the fake COVID
We'll have
scam.
to-
Exactly the same.
We'll keep an eye on that one then.
which
and,
changed in 1973, I might add.
Oh, really?
When the Queen was removed from her position.
Is there any, before we wrap it up then, is there any questions from the audience or anything? I'd like to thank Mike for coming down with that thorough information.
Yeah,
That was
it was
very
interesting.
interesting, that, Mike. And thanks for everybody at home who was watching. And if we're all locked up tomorrow and you don't know where we all are, you know that the police are coming.
Yeah, nice to see Alan finally. It's good that he turned up. Thank you all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learned from it. And yeah, just keep asking questions. Look after yourselves. Speak soon.